Blog Talk Radio.
Following ingredients include a look behind the scenes. Cook uncovered until hot. Add grooves to taste.
I would like, if I may, to take you on a strange journey.
Once upon a time, there was a little girl.
The accident was over a year ago. A second woman has been elected president. The 12th planet has been named in the solar system. The last wild polar bear has died. I slept through it all. I was here for my waking. He called it a beginning. He said it was good. I think he may have thought that anything I did was good.
Welcome to Transition Radio with your host, Mark Angelo Cummings.
And your hostess, Jessica Lynn Cummings.
The show for trans folks by trans folks, here to let your voice be heard.
All right, we had a little technical difficulty there. The Skype.
Thank you, Skype.
Yeah, thank you, Skype. As the intro was coming in, we got totally disconnected. Anyway, guys, well, good evening and welcome to Transition Radio. My name is Mark Angelo Cummings, your host.
And I am Jessica Lynn Cummings, your hostess. Tonight's show is being broadcast live from interlocation here. Marksville, Louisiana. I gotta stop reading literally. We wanted to take a moment to thank our sponsors, thebreastformstore.com. They have everything you can imagine to enhance your feminizing needs.
And Dr. Barton Maderosian, a facial feminization specialist based out of Jupiter, Florida. Visit our website and click on the links to check them out, and please show them your support and tell them Transition Radio sent you. And before you go on, I want to tell people, please call in. Tonight's topics are pretty controversial, and we're wanting to hear your opinion. The number is 646-716-6895. Again, that's 646-716-6895, and that's in chat.
Yes. Tonight, we want to talk about the politics in our community. Do we realize that this is a self-journey? There is no need to push our views or who we are onto others.
To expect the world to see you as you want to be seen is a formula for disappointment. This is a self-journey. Celebrate who you are, a person who is trans. Claim your existence. Be proud and create the peace you wish to see and feel. You know, I think, and this is my views, my thought, my opinion, that one of the biggest turmoils people face, transgender individuals, is because they're trying to be something that they truly are not. They claim they were, when they were a little girl, they were a little boy, and they continue to repeat this over and over again, telling people not to call them by their wrong pronouns, getting upset at their family members, when in reality, okay, you feel like the gender you transition to, but in reality, you're not genetically that male or female that you think you are.
Now, I do understand that when you go out into a public space and so you're presenting yourself as who you truly are, as a woman or as a male, and they refer to you as the wrong pronoun, somebody that doesn't know you or has not known you should at least have the respect to see you as who you're presenting. But unfortunately, not everybody's going to see us the way we want to be seen. And you have to realize that that's just the way life's going to go. It does get better the more you work on your transition and the way you present yourself. I think that's key, and the confidence.
But what I'm getting at is the reality factor here, people. The reality factor is, yes, you may feel like a female even though you were born a boy, and I may feel like a male even though I was born a girl. But the reality is, if we want the respect of humanity and people to really understand our plight, we kind of look like a bunch of nut jobs. I mean, there are a lot of people out there that get so angry at others for mistakenly misgendering them. Well, it's not a mistake. They've known you all your life as a male. All of a sudden you sprung this whole, oh, good news, I'm actually a she. You know, it's if you really, really look deep within, I mean, if you get out of yourself and get out of the delusion and realize we are transgender.
I mean, I said it before, as being born genetically a male, I personally never had a problem in the past with somebody referring me to male pronouns. And after transition, I noticed that when that would happen and the misgendering would happen in the beginning of my transition, more times than not, it was very frustrating. And, as I evolved, I realized that, it really doesn't matter because I'm neither male nor female. I am who I am.
Right.
I am expressing myself the way I see fit for my own life.
We're creator gods. We are something so amazing. And instead of just wanting to go from one box to the other, embrace that duality. Embrace who you are. You are not a mistake. You were meant to be born this way.
Yes. And the expectations are unrealistic for ourselves and for others.
And what tends to happen when we sit there and start a transition and thinking, because we create this whole scenario how we want to look and how everyone's going to accept us and love us. And
sure.
Then all of a sudden, boom, reality hits.
We inject hormones or we take pills that we're going to be some type of Barbie doll or some freaking raging stud. Well, you know what? You got to be also aware that may not happen.
And what we're trying to get here, we're not trying to be mean. We're not trying to be disrespectful. We're not just trying to create awareness of reality so that disappointment, so that constant battle that you have within, because it's a battle. You all are battling within yourself. Let go.
It's all about passing.
Yeah, and not even about passing.
No, I'm saying everyone in the community is all about passing.
Yeah, and it's like, who are you trying to pass as?
It should not be about passing because, I consider myself, if I had to put myself in a category, semi-passable. I am not completely passable, but I don't give a shit. I am who I am. And I present and express myself. I express my gender fluidly as who I feel I am. And as long as I'm happy and I'm comfortable with it, I'm going to be confident in my own skin, and I'm going to be happy.
And that's all that matters.
Exactly.
It's all these battles and with themselves, with others, because they're angry, they're bitter, because they weren't born in the gender that they wanted to be born as. Well, you know what? You weren't. Deal with it. Make the best of life that you could be. Be happy, and that is all that matters. And happiness doesn't mean waiting till you get all your surgeries, waiting till you look like Marilyn Monroe, because that may never happen. So you're going to stop living and live life miserably because of that?
Oh, man. Anyway, Orange is the New Black's Lee Delaria withdraws from Mitch Fest, responding to Twitter questions about her decision to perform at the Michigan Women's Music Festival, which does not admit transgender women. Out actor Lee Delaria announced that she will not participate.
In recent years, protests against that policy have ramped up, and following public pressure, out poet Andrea Gibson and Mitch Fest mainstays, the Indigo Girls, announced that they would not return to Mitch Fest until festival organizers opened attendance to all women, including trans women.
In March, Toronto-based rock group Hunter Valentine canceled its scheduled Mitch Fest performance, citing that all female groups believe that the term women includes transgender women.
Now, this has been going on for quite a while, and we've got to look at both sides. There's neutrality here. Yes, do we feel that a space should be for everyone, not even gender divide? I think we as human beings should be able to coexist and cohabitate and have fun together. But there's certain spaces that are sacred spaces, and maybe lesbians are not too thrilled the fact that a trans woman who has a penis, and I believe the penis here is the key word.
So what if they're post-op?
But maybe they still don't feel comfortable with that, and that should be their right. It is their space.
But they don't know what the person has between their legs, so it shouldn't be an issue about, it should not be an issue about anatomy. It should be an issue about presentation, and it's not. I mean, I think that if somebody is there presenting as a woman, not as a part-time, individual that's doing it here and there, but as somebody that's fully trans, that is going through the transition, should be considered able to be allowed into their spaces.
But
and I
that's
agree
not
with that.
the way. Well, how can you force somebody who creates their venue? It's theirs.
It's still discrimination.
But it doesn't matter. It's private. How many campgrounds say men only?
Okay, and how many have turned me away?
Well, not us.
None.
We have not been turned away, but they have their reason.
Okay,
They have their reason.
I mean,
my point here is that we should respect and not force ourselves upon people. If they don't want me in a place, why in the hell would I want to be?
well, yeah, exactly. But put yourself in the situation. Okay, you're a female to male. Okay, so let's say it's a men only place because you're a female to male. They don't allow you in,
and that's fine.
How are you going to feel with that?
I feel great about
but
it.
You're a man.
It doesn't. No, I'm not. I'm a trans man.
Well, you're a trans man. Okay,
I'm a trans man, and if gay men have a venue where they only want gay men there, and they don't want trans gay men, I would have no problem with it. Why should I?
Well, maybe other trans men would have a problem with that.
Well, those are the people that have a problem.
I don't have a problem with, if they don't want me there, fine. I don't want to be there, I'm not
exactly.
Not
why are we pushing ourselves on people? And all that is doing is creating a lot of animosity.
Mm-hmm.
You don't want me there, fine. I'll create my own space. Trans women, create your own trans women spaces.
Yeah, exactly. So
you don't have to feel that you're invading other women's events and then create a big to-do about it and make people, because what's that actress? She was placed under pressure. I don't think she did it out of her will. I think it's so much pressure that's being faced, and that's what I've been reading, that she actually pulled out.
She's the real masculine, butchy looking one.
Call us and let us know what you think about this, 646-716-6895. And now we're going to go ahead and move on to the next topic. Divide and conquer. While we all fight, because that's basically it, against each other, claiming to be the ones that suffer more, expecting, demanding that our needs are more important than others,
this creates the stage for these political heads to push their agenda using us all as pawns.
Exactly. And there's a little cartoon thing that was going around in Facebook, which I thought was very appropriate. You've got all these people, groups, colors, races fighting among each other, but I am the one that suffers the most. Mm-hmm. But no, how dare you? I'm a woman, so you can't, and everyone's arguing. And at the end of the little cartoon, you see the suited guy with a bunch of money. The suits. They're the ones. As long as we're divided and fighting amongst each other, they're making the money.
Exactly.
Because that's all
the organizations.
They can't have us unite. Because
look at GLAAD, for instance. GLAAD does not say anywhere in its name that it is about transgender people. It's about gay and lesbians.
Right.
Okay, and that's even in the in the title head of what GLAAD stands for. Okay, do they do things for transgender people? Recently, yeah,
to create more profit.
For financial gain.
Exactly.
So, it's all about, they're a nonprofit organization. Let's get more financial gain and use the trans people as pawns and make them think we're doing something great for them. Ooh, the GLAAD Awards, we're going to give them awards. I don't believe in all the organized.
Everything that has to be
stuff, especially when it's not specified for trans people.
Well, all organizations, whether specified for trans people or not, they're all in it to make money. They call themselves non-profit organizations.
And they should change their name to GLAAD.
Right.
Emphasize the T in that one. Yeah, right. Okay?
They barely put the T in LGBT.
I know, exactly. It's just LGBT.
You're asking for too much.
LGBT.
Yeah, algebra. But yeah, people don't realize that all these organizations, they just get us to fight amongst each other. It's all political ploy. Politics is dirty, and it's all about financial gain.
Absolutely. Well, there is a notion that many of us have, which is that we are born in the wrong body. But what if we're not? What if we were meant to be this way, to live and experience beyond that of what many consider to be normal?
What if we are getting this all wrong, and instead of looking at this as pain and suffering, we can turn it around and see it as a blessing for spiritual growth? If I had a dime for every transgender person that comes out to tell their story, you could bring out the violin because it all sounds the same, how much suffering, how terrible it is. Why can't we turn around and say, wow, what a blessing. I have experienced life on both sides. Back in the day, back in native time, we were considered gifts. It was like, wow, you have a two-spirit child. This is amazing. We would consider healers, shamans. Nowadays, you're born with this, and it's like you've got the plague. Self-hatred, mutilation.
It's a lot to do with the fact that basically it is a gift, but it's also an evolution of self, and it takes time for that evolution to occur, for people to realize. I mean, you still have some that have been transitioned for many, many years that still play the violin of life. It's neither here nor there. It's going to happen. But for most of us, we evolve and realize there's an epiphany. There's a moment that you go, that I'm really not going to be what I thought I was going to be. I'm never going to be a genetic female. You know, I know this, and I know this now, and I'm okay with that. You know why? Because I'm happy with who I am. I fit in somewhere. I fit in for myself, and I spiritually evolved myself. So I could care less what anybody else in the world thinks about me. All I know is that I'm happy, I'm confident in who I am, which is something I've never had before.
See, what tends to happen with the programming, what we see from every documentary, from every person, and I was guilty of this as well in the beginning, you know, you try to make it seem like it's the worst thing in the world so that you can get that empathy or sympathy from people, and people will go, oh, it's okay, we understand. You know, it's, to me, looking back, I always felt very masculine, and no one understood it, you know, I got made fun of, but you move beyond that pain, and you become strong, and you realize, wow, what an amazing journey. Everything that is worth anything is a struggle. That's life, and that's what we're here to do, a spirit being. This is a spiritual evolution, and if we stop looking at things as a materialistic portion of it, and we look at it as a spiritual portion of it, things become more open for us and makes a lot more sense.
Exactly.
Yeah, so I truly believe that transgender individuals need to empower themselves. They need to stop that negativity. They need to stop trying to make themselves feel like everything else in the world is okay except me, except the life that I lead. There are people that have worse problems than being born without gender and genitalia alignment. There are worse things in the world. And we've got to look at that, and we've got to realize, wow, it's a blessing. I'm two-spirited.
Yeah,
exactly. That's...
Imagine going through your whole life having both arms, both legs, and then all of a sudden you have an accident and you lose all your limbs. I mean, you know, how are you going to survive? Well, there's people out there that have been through that. There's people out there that are still moving on. There's people that are born deformed with no arms, no legs. There's people that are born with massive deformities.
Right.
You know, they look like something out of a horror movie. But you know what? They still live on. They still move on. Look at all the kids that are born with Down syndrome. They still go out. They still live their lives. They do things. It doesn't stop them. So why is it that being transgender or having this is going to stop anybody from living their life? Go out, be who you are. You're no different than anybody else out there. So, you know, stop hiding behind the closed doors and, you know, being miserable. Go out and have a good time and experience what life has to offer. Staying in as a recluse is only going to deepen the depression and make it worse.
And the only way we're going to educate people is by being ourselves, living our life, being happy.
Oh, the best form of advocacy is going out and being visible. Those of us that are out there every day living our lives authentically, those are the real advocates.
Exactly. And not sitting there going around policing people, creating new words and alphabets, and getting mad at people because they call you something which will land you in jail. And talking about landing you in jail, Cece McDonald, is she a trans role model or trans ordinaire? Lexi Kane, State of Trans, wrote an article regarding an interaction I had on trans role model, which was taken from one of the articles on our Shame on You blog.
Speaking of Lexi Kane and trans role model, you know, the censorship in that group because of Lexi Kane is idealistically ridiculous. I got booted for saying that you know, I leave the groups because of all the bashing. I come back to find you being bashed in that same group, and she bans me from the group. I find a real problem with that.
Well, that tends to be a lot of the same issue with a lot of administrators. It's another power-hungry thing, and but it is a good group. There's a lot of good audiences there, and
I know some of the high-up admins, but I don't know what the person has against me.
Oh.
But either way, we believe she is far from being a role model and should not be honored for her actions, for violence is not acceptable, especially if it's due to slurs. Lexi wrote, there are opinions floating around in the transgender sector of cyberspace having the view that trans woman, CC McDonald is undeserving of any special recognition because she is a convicted felon, they say.
That they, meaning me. Rather than state a rebuttal to those opinions, she wrote, I'm going to just share some facts for readers to consider when reading those opinions. Keep in mind, CC McDonald is, here we go, a trans woman of color.
1. Black transgender people live in extreme poverty, and racial bias are especially devastating for them. The ability for this group to get employment, housing, and medical care is extremely poor.
The number of black people by HIV is devastating. They face higher abuse by the police and in prisons. Sex work is often the only option for food and shelter. Now, I understand the pain and suffering that trans women of color have gone through. But other people, just because they're trans, doesn't matter what color, what race, what origin you are, also suffer the same thing. To say that only black trans women of color have it worse about employment, housing, and not having medical care, or they have the most HIV.
They're not being discriminated against because of the color of their skin. They're being discriminated against because they are transgender, just as I get discriminated against. I don't care if you're white, Hispanic, black, whatever. Anybody that transitioned, most of us have had good careers, have had homes, have had lives before transition. Then we transition and we lose everything. So how does that make trans women of color any different because of the color of their skin? It doesn't. No. They are just as much subject to any type of violence, any type of anything, as I am.
There's one thing that I can sincerely say, look at, well, maybe it's because of where they're living. They live in neighborhoods that crime is at a higher rate, and so what they need to do is they need, like everybody else, life is hard for everybody. I went to college. I didn't have the money to go to college, or I took out student loans, and I paid student loans for 10 years. Mm-hmm. I moved out of the neighborhood my parents raised us in and better myself. We all have the capability of doing so. In this day and age, we can't use these excuses anymore because it's not there. Is there still stereotypes? Yes. Is there still prejudice? Yes. But there's prejudice against everybody. Human beings are prejudiced and judgmental individuals, no matter what color, race, or creed you look like. Living and enjoying life, and that is what it's all about. Enjoying the journey, stop fighting what is, and just love and be loved. Guys, thank you so much for joining us. Thank you to our chatters. Thank you to our callers. Thank you to our listeners, our viewers, our sponsors, everybody, even our haters. We love you, babies. But remember to always love yourselves, too. Good night. And here we go.